The surrender of the Japanese naval base Kurihara, located on the island of Honshu, 1945. A Japanese man hands his sword to an American with a severe violation of sword etiquette, the hilt under the right arm and the sharp blade facing forward. From the Japanese perspective, he is deeply insulting the American. The American doesn't care and isn't even aware. Ivory traders in the Great Lakes region, Africa, 1880s. Drying polar bear skins, Northern Earth, 1930. 19-year-old David Isom walked through a white-only pool, after which officials closed the facility. Florida, 1958. Emperor Wilhelm II of Germany visits black people at the Hamburg Zoo, 1909. Two moonshiner sisters arrested during Prohibition, USA, 1921. In 1989, the Jack family disappeared after moving to Prince George, where the father took a logging job. After a call saying they had arrived safely, they were never seen again. This remains one of Canada's enduring mysteries. Antibiotics were discovered by accident. Alexander Fleming left a petri dish with Staphylococcus bacteria unattended for several days. A colony of mold grew in it and started destroying the bacteria. Fleming then isolated the active substance, penicillin. A brutal experiment in the U.S. lasting from the 1930s to the 1970s. Over 600 African American workers from Alabama were given placebos and arsenic, despite a known remedy for syphilis. The purpose of the experiment was to observe how African Americans die from syphilis. The execution of counter-revolutionaries. Before the shooting, a sign listing their crimes was hung around their necks. China, 1968. Mike Tyson in glamorous pink handcuffs goes to prison for drug possession and drunk driving, 2008. A woman on the right is presenting a plastic protective bra for women working in munitions factories, USA, 1943. It was believed that it protected against radiation and other harmful substances. German refugees cross a destroyed bridge, Elbe River, Germany, May 1, 1945. Unemployed man who sold space on his bald head for a sports magazine ad, Hungary, 1939. Dina Sanichar, a real-life Mowgli raised by wolves and found in 1872 in the jungles of India. The bathing machine, a device popular in the 18th and 19th centuries for swimming at sea beaches, allowing men and women to bathe while preserving the proprieties of the time. A working woman from a textile plant confronts police during a labor dispute over the closure of the factory. Spain, 1986. South Korean women weep as they listen to President Syngman Rhee speak at a memorial service in Seoul, October 17, 1953. The service honored the 33,964 South Koreans killed in the last year of the war. November 1966, stagnant air trapped toxic smog over New York City for 3 days, killing 168 people. Prisoners in stocks and an executioner with a knife, 1899, Persia. Gadget to hide facial expressions while playing poker, 1937. Finnish strongman Viljami Hautavita with 2 rifles in his teeth, 1930s. Fashionable women with bronze rings on their necks. Fashionable women in eastern Burma do everything to make their necks as long as possible. Friedrich Nietzsche in a psychiatric hospital, 1899. A Ku Klux Klan member, 1868. California physics teacher demonstrating the mechanism of the surfing wave tube, 1970. The Japanese listened to the emperor's message about surrender, Japan, 1945. This is a warning from a Ku Klux Klan member to African American residents of a Miami neighborhood who were expected to participate in the elections. May 1939. Gas chamber for horses, Germany, 1942. Used to treat skin diseases, but it looked terrifying. A crowd of 300,000 gathered on Shanghai's waterfront to celebrate the new year. From the upper floors of a skyscraper, coupons resembling US dollars were thrown with the message, "Happy 2015," causing a stampede. 36 dead, 49 injured. China, 2014. A soldier equipped with a helmet with chainmail to protect his eyes from shell fragments, stones, and other debris. USA, 1918. Superheroes wash windows in a children's hospital. USA, 2000s. Watching television in a movie theater in the city of Carpi, Italy, 1956. A device for breaking the wrists of heretics invented by Christian priests in the 15th century. It was used to break the arms of heretics. Japanese children enjoying fresh snow, 1950s. Africa, Sudan, school class, 1954. Left, Mick Jagger after marrying Bianca Perez Mora Macias, 1971. Right, Jagger running from court during their divorce, 1979. All members of this glider unit survived, went through the war, and in 2011 reunited as they were in 1944 before the Normandy landings. Until 1887, all runners stood at the starting line upright, waiting for the signal to begin running. But one day, American sprinter Cheryl, while walking through a zoo, noticed that kangaroos squat before moving. So, at his first competition, Cheryl took a crouching start. The audience and competitors laughed for a long time, but Cheryl won the race with his unusual start. In 2007, the gorilla Sinkwekwe and several others fell victim to the conflict in Virunga National Park, Africa. As a result, authorities enacted stricter laws to protect the park's remaining gorilla population. The fall of 38th U.S. President Gerald Ford from an airplane ramp, Vienna, Austria, 1975. The coronation of Bokassa, the Emperor of the Central African Republic. 1/3 of the country's budget was spent on it, and among the refreshments was the meat of his political opponents. Operation Overlord, June 6, 1944. The Normandy landings marked the beginning of the liberation of Nazi-occupied Western Europe. Homosexual inmates in women's clothing during corrective labor, Colorado, 1900s. Native American Sachin Littlefeather refuses the Oscar Award, 1973. In the category of Best Actor, Marlon Brando won for his role in The Godfather. However, he refused to attend the ceremony, and instead a Native American woman took the stage. She addressed the audience saying, "Marlon regrets not being able to attend, but he refuses the award due to the terrible treatment of Native Americans in the U.S." A man sentenced to death in a gas chamber, the Westinghouse Electric Company logo on his forehead, USA, 1939. A young white child touches the shield of a black police officer during a Ku Klux Klan rally in Gainesville, Georgia, 1992. Advice from a Russian children's magazine on how to point out a black person, 1904. Christmas packages destined for soldiers who have been killed or are missing in action await return to sender stamps in New York, 1944. This is a rally of Hitler's supporters in 1937. No rally in human history gathered so many people. 8 years later, in 1945, after Germany's defeat, they would claim they had never supported Hitler's ideas. 3 years of war between these portraits. Adolf Eichmann walks in the courtyard of his cell at Ramla Prison, 1961, Israel. Adolf Eichmann was one of the main organizers of the Holocaust. A fisherman's find. There used to be worm vending machines, USA, 1957. A Chechen woman carries her belongings through the ruins during the conflict between Russia and Chechnya, 1995. A gay wedding organized in 1921 by the young party member of the Baltic Fleet, Afanasy Schauer. Schauer hoped for praise and rewards from his superiors and gathered about 100 gay men, whom he then tried to accuse of a counter-revolutionary conspiracy. Soviet Union. A bronze statue of Hachiko at the spot where he waited for his master every day on the day of his death, 1935. Traditional winter goggles carved from walrus ivory, Canada, 1921. These were designed to protect the wearer from snow blindness caused by the sun's glare on the ice. A couple watches the launch of the Apollo 8 spacecraft, 1968. In the 20th century in Sweden, young women were forcibly sterilized as part of a program to ensure the purity of the nation. Violations of ethical norms included disobedience, mental disability, low intelligence, and birth from mixed marriages. In the Middle Ages, women used lead-based whiteners for a porcelain skin tone. This cosmetic, popular until the 19th century, caused poisoning, emaciation, disorientation, lack of appetite, and took the lives of many. A method of restraining a mentally ill person in a British asylum to prevent them from hurting themselves during an hysterical fit. 1950. Civilians sleep in the subway during another German bombing raid. London, 1940. A mother reunites with her daughter after 7 months of service in Iraq. The Empire State Building's damaged wall after a B-25 bomber crash in 1945. Korean War veterans display experimental prostheses. South Korea, 1955. Crowds cheering Adolf Hitler's campaign to unite Austria and Germany, 1938. A research aircraft safely lands after flying over an isolated tribe in the Amazon jungle. The Japanese during World War II displayed unprecedented cruelty, killing more Chinese people than the Nazis killed Jews. Tens of thousands of Chinese women were raped, many of them were killed. In 1942, educator Janusz Korczak had a chance to escape but chose to accompany 200 orphans to the Treblinka gas chamber instead. His reasoning was heartbreakingly simple. You don't leave a sick child alone, and here there are 200. People fight for books. Plovdiv, Bulgaria, 1980. Photograph entitled The Eyes of Hatred of Joseph Goebbels, when learning that the photographer taking his picture was Jewish, 1933. These 19th century photographs illustrate various levels of intoxication, 1860s. Ku Klux Klan members relax on a Ferris wheel in Cannon City, Colorado, 1922. King George VI of Great Britain was a very serious man, 1938. In some U.S. cities, a law from the 19th century on deformities remained in effect until the 1970s. Maimed, deformed, sick, and other people whose appearance caused disgust were prohibited from appearing in public under threat of a fine. Salvador Dalí, 1947. People pose for a photograph moments before they are struck by lightning. Scottish physicist Robert Watson Watt was once stopped by a police officer for speeding, after which he said, "If I had known what you would do with it, I would never have invented radar." Egyptians watching the airship Graf Zeppelin flying over the pyramids of Giza, 1931. An Orphan's Prayer in an Orphanage, New York, 1947. Inside the fuselage of a Handley Page Halifax heavy bomber after a combat mission, England, 1942. A timeless problem, the fight against excess weight. For example, Portuguese monks in the 12th century fought this issue by making a special opening in their monastery's dining hall so that overweight monks had to fast. Slave market, USA, 1864. It was only after the Civil War and the ratification of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution that slavery was abolished in the country. An ancient bloodletting tool from 1850. This practice was common in Europe and Russia until the mid-19th century and was considered a primary treatment for many ailments. Jews arrested after Kristallnacht brought to Buchenwald, November 1938. Lavender Panthers, a radical militarized gay group that existed in San Francisco in 1973. The group aimed to defend LGBT rights with arms, as the police were inactive, and attacks on gays and transvestites were rarely investigated. Jenny, arrested in 1924 for illegal alcohol distribution. She hid flasks under her fur coat and made thousands during Prohibition. The collection of pine bark for food due to food shortages caused by the Civil War. Russian Empire, 1918. In 1996, American Larry Ruttman threw a boomerang that returned and hit him in the head. Larry sued himself for damages totaling $300,000 and won the case. Shocked Soviet soldiers stand near a large pile of human ashes at the Majdanek concentration camp in 1944. Martin Luther King Jr. is arrested for demanding service at a whites-only restaurant, Florida, USA, 1964. Judge of an ankle competition organized by the women's section of the British Railways Social Club at Oxford, 1949. Parisian children enjoying the thrilling climax of a puppet show of St. George and the Dragon, 1963. An unofficial photo of Joseph Stalin when he learned of the German invasion. A brothel for German soldiers organized in a former synagogue, 1940. Judging by the photo, it was exclusively for soldiers. Residents of the Warsaw Ghetto before their execution during the genocide of Jews. Murders in the ghetto occurred every day. The old, the frail, children, and women were killed. A seller of intimate wigs. New York, 1860. Prostitutes would remove hair from intimate areas to avoid pubic lice. Accessories like these helped them hide venereal diseases from clients. The first pubic wigs appeared for sale in the 1450s. Robert Wadlow, the tallest recorded man in history, with his family, 1935. Music rehearsal in a Soviet correctional prison, 1978. Boxer Raymond Johnston spars with a Mustang, September 15, 1926. Sparked a reaction. Whether good or bad, I'd love to read your comments below. Get ready for the next installment very soon. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss out. Catch you later.